Malcolm Davis is a senior analyst of defence strategy and national security at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute and joins us now live from Canberra. Thank you very much indeed for your time. What's your reading then into Volodymr Zelenskyy's admission that he is ready for peace, essentially, and he's ready to get to the negotiating table, albeit not personally, for talks in Saudi Arabia?
Look, I think he's been put in a very hard place by the Trump administration. I think quite legitimately, Zelenskyy expects security guarantees, because ultimately any peace deal without security guarantees is merely peace in our time, harking back to 1938 and Munich and Sudetenland. So I think that Zelenskyy is anxious not to see history repeat itself. He wants security guarantees, but he's got to take that first step. And so therefore he recognizes that there has to be a discussion, there has to be a negotiation. But my concern is, at the end of the day, the Trump administration will simply take the resources and give nothing in return.
Yes, and that's his big fear, of course. If he's going to sign away those minerals, those precious minerals, he wants those security guarantees. Donald Trump may well be right when he says that Ukraine has little choice to come to the table. What do you think he means when he says that Russia is also incentivized to come to the table, but only Donald Trump knows what that reason is?
I have no idea. Essentially, it could be in Donald Trump's mind that he thinks he only knows what is motivating Putin. But I can tell you now, Putin has no intention of signing a sincere peace deal in regards to Ukraine. He will see any ceasefire as an opportunity, a pause to regroup and rearm the Russian military so that they can launch the war again, either against Ukraine or against NATO directly. And this is what is motivating Europe now to rearm, to build its military capabilities up, because they recognize that Putin in 2025, like Hitler in 1938-39, seeks to conquer more territory. His territorial ambitions go way beyond Ukraine. And so I'm not sure what Trump thinks is motivating Putin, but I can guarantee you Putin has no interest in peace.
Yes, and what do you make of Emmanuel Macron, the French president's suggestion or the idea that he could extend France's nuclear deterrent to cover its European allies? Would they not already be covered largely by NATO protection anyway?
Well, that NATO protection is from the US.
Yeah.
And so this is what is motivating Macron, that maybe NATO cannot count on the United States to honor its obligations under Article 5 anymore. And part of those obligations would be the extended nuclear deterrence, security guarantees, and dual role nuclear or dual use nuclear forces in Europe. So I think Macron is hedging and mitigating risk here, recognizing that given Russia and Putin are quite prepared to back up any aggression in Eastern and Central Europe with explicit nuclear threats, there has to be some sort of deterrent against Putin. And if the US is not prepared to provide that deterrent, then France has to step up. Ideally, the UK would do that as well, reconstitute its tactical nuclear forces and work with France to provide extended nuclear deterrence for NATO in the absence of any US commitment.
How concerned, Malcolm, should we all be about ongoing war and further conflict in Europe, given Donald Trump's sort of freewheeling attitude towards foreign policy and Russian aggression, which we know has further ambitions for Ukraine and elsewhere?
I think Europe should be very concerned. Essentially, Trump is embracing a strategy of complete capitulation to Moscow. He's giving Putin every concession that Putin wants up front without even having a serious negotiation. And so that's only going to embolden Putin to take more territory, to have more ambitious territorial ambitions. Obviously, I think Putin needs probably time to reconstitute his forces, but we're only talking a year or two before Russia's forces are back to full strength. And then, as I said, backed up with explicit nuclear threats, Putin could then try to decide, well, let's make a move against the Baltic states, or let's move against Romania, or in the Black Sea or the Baltic Sea. So I do think that Europe needs to take this very seriously. They need to start thinking in a pre-war mindset in terms of how Europe prepares for the possibility of war with Russia in the next 2 years. And that's, I think, why European states are starting to step up now.
Malcolm, great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for your analysis today. Malcolm Davis there from the Australian Strategic Policy Institute.